Hi, welcome to Kibbitzing with Kagan. I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Rockville and Gaithersburg and to be one of 8 senators representing Montgomery County. With me today, as one of the people that I find fascinating, is Kevin Kinnally from the Maryland Association of Counties. As you may know, there are 24 counties, including the city of Baltimore, which is also considered a county. The Maryland Association of Counties represents big and small, red and blue, wealthier and less wealthy. And Kevin Kinnally is an advocate for all of them. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much. I am really pleased to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Thank you very much. Tell us about MACO, Maryland Association of Counties, and what you do and why your voice is so important and so respected in Annapolis.
Thank you. So MACO, the Maryland Association of Counties, like you said, we represent and advocate for all 24 counties in Maryland. We are nonpartisan, like you said, big and small, Democrat, Republican, rural, urban. All of the counties have the same goal ultimately, that's to provide everything from planning and zoning to public safety for our residents. We run elections. Obviously, we have budgets. So we really are the voice for counties here in Annapolis. We have a sister organization, the Municipal League. We all know you represent Gaithersburg and Rockville. You're very familiar with them, but local governments, we touch so many issue areas. It's fascinating. And we really are where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, in government. So a lot of people want to focus on federal politics and state politics much better, much closer to home, but really it's your local governments that are providing those everyday services that you count on.
Absolutely. Now, you've been with MACO since 2016. You're associate director, which also means you are one of the key advocates and voices for MACO. A lot of people, when they think about the word lobbyist, they think that that's a sleazy person in a fancy designer suit and all that, smoking a big fat cigar. It's not exactly what MACO's lobbyists look like or how they work. Give us an idea of the importance of grassroots advocacy as well as presence in Annapolis.
Right. So that's a great point. And, people often think that way. The truth is everybody needs an advocate. And when it comes to advocating for counties, a question that I get all the time is, how do you all come up with your positions on bills? Doesn't everybody, Montgomery County is going to feel a lot differently than, Talbot County on the Eastern Shore. The reality is our positions are membership driven. During session, outside of a pandemic, everybody comes down here once a week from every county. They all get a vote. 99% of the time, they're in agreement on what MACO should be doing on a particular issue. So that's really fascinating to see, because at the end of the day, it's all about what's best for counties as a whole. Everybody can put their differences aside and understand, what's best for the county community. So it really is important that counties have a voice. Again, we are really where the rubber meets the road. And everything that the state does affects counties in some way. So we're really there to make sure that we have that voice at the table and that we're there to explain with our professionals who work in county government exactly what this would mean for the county back at home and ultimately for the constituents.
So you referenced session. We are going to reconvene. The Senate and the House are showing up in Annapolis in January, but things will be different. They'll be different for legislators. They'll be very different for advocates like you. Why don't you tell us how you're modifying your advocacy and outreach efforts?
So yeah, things are going to be different for everyone. And, having hearings via Zoom and, besides all the technological pieces of this, which I'm sure will come together, it is odd not to be able to have that personal connection, not only with the legislators, but with our people back at home in the counties, where typically, as I mentioned, they're coming down here to Annapolis, they're visiting with legislators like yourself, they're coming to the MACO offices. So we're transitioning much like you are and your colleagues, where we're having to hold meetings via Zoom, a lot of email. And so, I think it'll be weird. I'm not exactly sure what to expect. And I know everybody's in the same boat at this point. Everybody's going to do the best that they can. But we do have legislative initiatives. That process is moving forward. Those are also membership driven. I know we'll talk about that.
We will definitely get
as far as that goes, as far as our advocacy goes, I don't see much in terms of change. It's just a matter of how we're going to connect with our professionals within the counties and with the legislators here in Annapolis.
Right. It's going to be bizarre, actually, but we are constitutionally required to meet, and there will be safety and distance and all sorts of new precautions. And the Senate president and speaker have been very thoughtful in trying to figure out how to, on the one hand, keep us safe, on another hand, allow democracy to function.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge. Talk to me, if you would, about how the coronavirus has affected counties in particular, and then we'll get to some of the issues.
Yeah, so thank you for that. I mean, counties are the front lines when it comes to the coronavirus response. Our local health departments, everybody at the county level is dropping what they're doing to make sure that we're responding, that we're providing the public health services, that we're making sure we're standing up different funds for our small businesses, for our residents who may be on hard times right now. But counties really are on the front lines. And we know that the state budget and county budgets, we both are heavily reliant on the income tax at the state and local level. And, you know, things have turned out okay so far, but I think there's a lot to be seen in terms of whether Congress gets its act together and comes up with another round of stimulus. You know, we're seeing a spike right now in cases. Hopefully we can tamp that down, but we will be affected with our budgets. You know, we don't want to be in position to have to cut essential services because we're expending so much on COVID-19 relief, but it's the number one priority for every county. We're doing a lot to make sure that the services continue to be met, and also that we're helping people that are in need and making sure that people get tested, have access to testing, and that information is being turned around very quickly. So it's been a robust effort. It's been really busy, but I'm very happy with the way that counties have responded, and I think, you know, they deserve a kudos for the way that they've handled this so far.
That's great. So let's start pivoting to some of the issues. One of the things that I have been so proud to work on with you, and you've been such an extraordinary partner, is that which takes over my life, which is the shift to next generation 911. As you've heard me say 10 million times, 3 people have died in my district when 911 has failed. We've passed 9 laws together and just had our final meeting of 2020 where we finalized our recommendations that will become legislation. What has Next Gen 911 been for you personally and for Mako? What have you learned? What are you proudest of?
Oh my gosh, I've learned so much, as I know you have. You know, it's really impressive when you look at what Maryland has been able to accomplish in just a few short years. There are states that are trying to bring all the stakeholders to the table and get on the same page and move forward together. And I really appreciate the fact that one of the tenets within all of this has been all boats rise together. And everywhere from Garrett County to Worcester County, we want to make sure that every Maryland resident has access to those services. So, you know, we can explain Next Gen 911. Essentially, you'll have a lot more capability. You'll be able to send text if you're in an emergency, photos, video, much better location accuracy, the ability to roll over calls if there is an emergency and you're overwhelmed at your call center. So the benefits are enormous. The fact that we've been able to do it and make sure that everybody's rising at the same time, that all those services are rolling out, and to make it equitable across the state is really, really impressive. And it will, there's no doubt it's going to save lives, and it will improve public safety in Maryland exponentially. Mako is extremely proud of this. You've been a fantastic partner. All of our public safety professionals within the counties, again, rubber meets the road, we run 911. So they're very proud. You should be very proud. Mako is definitely very proud of the progress that we've made. And we've become a model nationally, no doubt about it.
Thank you. We have really proud of your partnership. You referenced texting to 911. Just since that's been mentioned, I want to just remind anyone who's watching, calling 911 if you can is the better option. But if you can't call, you can now text in any of the 24 jurisdictions anywhere in Maryland. Make sure you include your location because that will make things go more quickly.
Yes, yes.
Let's pivot, Kevin, to elections. It's another issue that you and I have worked closely on, and we are working on legislation I'll be sponsoring next year. As you mentioned, our counties are the ones who actually run the elections under the umbrella of the State Board of Elections. Why don't you talk about some of the challenges and some of the issues that we're looking at?
Sure. So obviously another hot topic, and you and I have worked closely on this one as well for many years. And when it comes to elections, you know, every state is different. And in Maryland, we have a state board of elections, sort of overseas, like you said, but our 24 local boards are on the ground running the elections. And the pandemic, that brought enormous challenges. There were several letters written by you and by Mako advocating for certain issues. At the end of the day, the biggest challenges that we have are funding, unfunded mandates on our local boards, administrative burdens for them. And really, we want to make sure that they have a voice at the table when a lot of these big decisions are being made, because I have to tell you, and in Montgomery County and in every county, these are some of the most intelligent, professional folks working at our local boards. They have so much expertise and they deserve to have a say in all of this. So we really want to make sure that moving forward, if the state is going to enter into a procurement or if they want to use a certain system, that they get input from the counties, the ones that are running the elections on the ground. So those are the challenges that we've had. And really, I think it's just about updating the laws to really show where we are as a state. We have a lot of new technology that's out there, and I think we need to be careful and make sure we have a really, really good process in place for vetting all of this new technology. And again, making sure that we're all on the same page across Maryland. So it's about making sure we have the funding, making sure that our folks are not burdened administratively, and making sure that we have a seat at the table for a lot of these big decisions that are being made by the state board.
Thank you. That captures it all really well. I just want to add on that whether elections officials are from a Democratic county or a Republican county, unlike what the Trump administration has been trying to raise as an issue, these folks are really diligent and they want their elections to be run safely, fairly, accurately, and they want everyone to vote and every vote counted.
Absolutely. I mean, there is no doubt, and there's no fraud. It's insulting sometimes, regardless of who's saying it. When I know these people that are working 24/7, that are in the trenches, that don't sleep in election season because they're making sure that every vote counts and that it counts once, and that everybody who has, the ability to vote and has the right to vote is able to vote. And in this pandemic, as we've had to jump through a lot of hoops, and there's been a lot of balls in the air. People have been doing things on the fly. And I have to say, the state board and the local boards, a remarkable job. We kept the lines down. We were able to get a lot of people to mail in their ballots. And I think the outreach was great. And I just have the utmost respect for everybody, running these elections amidst the pandemic. Other states had a lot of challenges. We didn't see that here in Maryland. And it's because we had support from legislators like yourself, from the state board, the local boards, everybody saying, okay, let's put our differences aside. Let's get on the same page and let's get this done. And it's been really good. Yeah.
Perfect. Another big issue that the coronavirus has really spotlighted is access to the internet. Broadband is going to be one of those priorities. And you know that we've talked about it in terms of 911, because we've got to be able to get access to public safety, but kids trying to go to school from home. Why don't you talk about the Broadband Initiative, what Mako is hoping to achieve in 2021?
Sure. So I think a lot of people, when they think about broadband and lack of access, they think automatically about rural areas. And yes, there are a lot of issues in the rural areas, but the fact is we have issues in every single county where we have folks who are unable to connect to stable, reliable, affordable, high-speed internet. You mentioned kids trying to learn remotely. There's a homework gap right now. We have kids that are having to go to their local McDonald's to get on the internet to do their homework. At the same time, their parents are trying to telework, telemedicine, agriculture. We have farmers that rely on the internet for their crops and the way that they water and that they feed their crops. They save a lot of water and a lot of feed when they're using GPS guided, equipment that really isn't essential for them. So the economy, it touches every single area of our lives. The pandemic has shown how much we need to make sure everybody has access, that it's equitable and affordable. And so really our goal is to move the ball forward. We want to leverage existing resources and partnerships, but also advocate for funding to make a big difference, to actually bring everybody to the table again and figure out how we can actually move this ball forward. There have always been a number of bills floating around and, 10 million here, 10 million there. We want this to be a concentrated effort. We want all the stakeholders on the same page. That's the way you get things done here in Annapolis. You have buy-in. And so we think this is the time, strike while the iron is hot. Everybody understands the importance here. And so we're really going to push hard in the 2021 session to get that funding and to leverage those resources, because again, it is essential. It is like electricity and like water at this point. You need access to broadband for everything. It's a quality of life issue.
And I think in 2021, it's going to be a major priority for everyone and not just for Mako.
Yes.
The bipartisan Senate Small Business Caucus, you and I were both just on, had a presentation by a couple of experts on broadband, because it affects not just families and communities and governments, but it also affects small businesses and nonprofits who also need access to high-speed internet. So thank you. Are there one or two more issues, Kevin, that you want to share that will be top Mako priorities that we haven't already discussed?
Sure. So we have four. We've discussed elections and we've discussed broadband. Our four legislative initiatives, every year we have an initiatives committee. Again, these are people from the county, elected officials that are coming up with our top four priorities. All of these, I think seemingly and rightfully so, have to do with the pandemic and how we're responding. So the third initiative, it has to do with our local health departments and how they're funded. In 2008, we had a recession and the state drastically cut funding for our local health departments. Today, we're not even back to where they were in 2008. So think about that and think about inflation and where they should be now, 12, 13 years later. We're not even back to those levels in 08. We need to make sure they have funding. A lot of times they're using outdated equipment and systems. Their computers are old. We got to make sure that they have the resources they need. Again, we've all seen their importance with, in this pandemic. So I think it's time to really make sure they're taken care of and that they have the resources to take care of all of our residents. And then our fourth initiative has to do with county budget security. As I mentioned earlier, the state and the counties are going to have some budget issues. The pandemic is costing a lot of money, and at the same time, we're not bringing in the revenues that we usually would with our income tax, with all sorts of fees at the local level. So we want to make sure that the state is not shifting burdens onto the counties. We think that doing that only exacerbates problems at the local level. It doesn't solve the overall issue. So those are going to be our top four: elections, broadband, funding for our local health departments, and then county budget security. That's what we're focused on this year. We take positions on hundreds of bills. You talked about lobbyists earlier. I always find it fascinating. You'll see somebody running around town. Oh my gosh, I have two bills and I'm really concerned. I'm like, well, we have like 200. And, that's why I really love this job. I mean, it's, you get to learn so much and you meet amazing people. We touch every issue area. So whether or not you're really interested in planning and zoning or law enforcement or broadband, elections, you're going to learn about it. And that's one of the great things about working for a great organization like this. I have to mention too, we have 13 professional affiliate chapters within Mako. And so they play a big role, but it really is a great organization and I love it. And you got an award from Mako because it seems like all the big issues that we're working on, you're right there with us. So we really appreciate your partnership too.
Thank you. And I appreciated being named Legislator of the Year with my and Republican colleague, Senator Ed Riley, with whom I work on Next Generation 911.
Yes.
So Kevin Kinnally, let's pivot to Fast Five.
The Fast Five.
Fast Five. Okay. So first, you became a dad a year ago. And so question number one, what do you like best about being a father?
Oh, I all of it.
And this is a brief answer. Don't give me 45 minutes of it because I'm sure that's what you would do.
I could get really sappy. No, it's just watching her, grow up. She's just over 1 now. She's starting to talk, watching her walk up to me and hold her arms out. I mean, there's nothing like it in the world. So it's great. That's
great. What do you miss most during COVID?
I think just, the personal connections, the holidays are here. We're all going to be safe around my family and our households. So, it's the personal connections. It's being able to talk to people, see people. Zoom is getting old, right? I think everybody is sick of this. So it's really just being able to connect on a personal level. I think we're going to miss that the most, or I do.
Yeah. So with COVID and all the stress and frustration, tell me something that makes you really laugh.
Oh, my daughter makes me laugh a lot. I love The Office. I mean, I could watch that show over and over and over, and it's always on in the background. And then I think you have to poke fun at yourself sometimes too, and not be so serious. With the pandemic, we've been so busy, and sometimes I just have to stop and laugh and say, "What do you do? Why are you so stressed? It's going to be fine." And laugh at yourself and laugh at just family stuff, and again, trying to keep a positive attitude amidst all this. It's challenging, but you have to take the time to do it.
Right. So, Kevin, what is one food that you just won't eat?
Ooh, a lot. I'm a picky eater, to be
Are
honest.
you?
Yeah. I don't like broccoli. I don't eat fish. I do eat crabs. I don't eat fish. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of
Okay.
people are surprised by that. I'm a meat and
Wow.
potatoes kind of person. I'm
Huh.
easy. I guess that's the good news. But I'd say I will not eat broccoli. I won't eat spinach. Typically, I love vegetables, but those two, nah, not
Okay.
going to do it. Not going
All
to do it.
right. Not the bright green healthy ones, huh? Okay. Kale,
Some of them.
asparagus?
Yeah, sure. I love asparagus. Grilled
Okay.
asparagus all day long. Yes. I get my
Interesting.
vegetables. I get my
That's so
vegetables.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the last question that I ask everyone, Kevin Kinnally, what is your superpower, your hidden talent, that's something you're really good at that most people can't do?
I would say I'm a very analytical person, and so I'm able to process a lot of data quickly. I think it's a challenge for me. I use it as a challenge to motivate myself, but I love looking at spreadsheets and data and sort of figuring out what is this saying, and then being able to put it into a paragraph to explain it to somebody. I think that's a really portable skill, and it's something that I continue to try and get better at. And so I think I'm pretty good at it, but I want to get better. And that is one of the most important skills, is to be able to take a big glob of data or words and be able to explain it to you in the elevator. It's something I take pride in, and I think I'm pretty good at.
That's fantastic. No acronyms and in plain English. Don't talk about
That's right.
heads and yeah, that's
And you taught me that, no acronyms,
no
plain
acronyms.
English. It's important.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Kevin, it has been such a pleasure to have this chat with you. Thank you for all you do. It's really been such a pleasure to partner with you. You are thoughtful and thorough and responsive and diligent, and you keep your commitments, and just everything I appreciate in a lobbyist. So thank you for all that you do. Please stay safe and hug your beautiful daughter.
I will. Thank you so much. And I have to say, we do have a podcast too. It's the Conduit Street podcast, and you've been a guest. I feel like I have to put a plug in there, but I appreciate you being on there, and thank you so much for having me today. It's been a pleasure. It's great working with you. I could go on, but I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Take care. Hope to see you sometime soon in person.
Absolutely. You too.